My class does not know what a comic book is.
Okay.
I came here to show them what it was, how it's made, and everything. So can we start off?
Absolutely.
So the first question I have for you is, okay, yeah, what do you do for your comics?
What I do for comics? Well, I started out as a writer, but I also did little layouts for the artwork, and I designed all the covers for the comics. And after I did that for a while, I got some training, and then I started at DC Comics, and then I went to Marvel Comics. I was an editor for a while, and then I became editor in chief. When you're editor in chief, you have to know the business as well as creative. And so I learned, and I was editor in chief for 10 years. So since then, I've sort of on both sides. I do the business, I also do the creative. And I started several of my own companies, and now I'm back to writing.
So how long have you been doing comic books?
53 years.
53 years, man.
I started when I was 13 years old. I sold my first story, and then I sold everything I ever put after that.
So do you work with characters that maybe fourth grader like me would know?
Okay, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Spider-Man, the Hulk, the Fantastic Four, with every Marvel character and a lot of DC characters.
How do you know what to write or draw?
Well, I mean, I do a process which I call freewheeling, where I just kind of let my imagination run wild, and maybe I'll finally think of like a scene or even just a sentence or something like that. And that'll get me started. And see, if you're writing a story has certain essential elements. In the simplest terms, now this is just a break, build with it. In the simplest terms, it's you have a character who's in a situation. Something changes the situation. Conflicts happen. And then there's a climax where the conflicts are settled one way or another. Somebody wins, you know. And then there's a new situation that's slightly different than the first situation. Okay, that's a story. I tell people to remember Little Miss Muffet. Little Miss Muffet sat on a tuffet eating her curds and whey. It's a little girl eating lunch. Okay, along came a spider. Well, that's going to disrupt your lunch, isn't it? And sat down beside her. Now you don't know. Is she going to step on her? Is it going to bite her? You don't know. Scared poor Miss Muffet. That's the climax. Away. She gets away. And she's not going back there for lunch anymore. So if you can remember Little Miss Muffet, you can remember the primary element to the story. That's the simplest possible. I mean, that's not, you don't try to do that. I mean, that just help you remember. And then you can build. You can add subplots and, throw in a car chase if you want. Whatever, you can improve on that. But that's that's the bedrock. And that's how I approach it. And I just like, if you can think of either uh, the end situation, the resolution, where you want to go to, or if you can think of a good climax, or if you can think of a good spider, you know, then you can usually build the other direction. You can say, well, in order to have that climax, I'd have to have these two forces in conflict. And how would I get those two forces in conflict? Well, that tells you what the disruptive element, what the spider was. And so you can, once you get a little hook to start with, then you can dream up the rest. And it's not easy. Sometimes it takes a while, but once you see, writing is architecture as well as art. There's a structure to it, you know, and then you're artful, as artful as you can be. I didn't come up with this. Aristotle came up with this 330 years before the birth of Christ, and he wrote a book called Ars no Ars Poetica. Ars Poetica. And then 300 years later, a Roman philosopher named Horace took what Aristotle did and he improved it. And he wrote a book called Poetics. And those two books are the foundation of all Western literature. I don't recommend trying to read them; they're pretty tedious. But basically, what they were saying is that's what makes a good story. The basic, character, situation, conflict, and so forth. And they didn't decide this; they didn't invent it. They observed it. They saw that that's what people liked, and that's what helped people talk to each other. every day you come home from school and you tell a story about what happened. And you do it in the right order. You do it perfectly. And if you don't, she'll catch it. She'll say, "Hey, what about which teacher? What are you talking about?" Then you'll have to tell her what you're missing. So anyway, so you're a natural storyteller. The thing is, you learn the architecture, and you get more artful and better characters, and borrowed influence, personalities, stuff like that.
So, what's your favorite part of the job? Do you like the writing, the art?
I I guess I like the writing. I mean, it's hard, but when you're done, you feel so good.
Well, thank you for letting me interview you.
Thank you very much. Very nice to meet you.
I have one question for you, if you don't mind me asking.
Not at all.
What kind of advice or encouragement? What can you tell my daughter to like encourage her if she ever decides that this is something she wants to do? What kind of advice would you give them?
I think the important thing is learn your craft. I mean, first of all, you have to have a command of the language, number one. But the second thing is, like I said, it's architecture as well as art. And the more you can read and the more you can find information about writing, the better off you are. I recommend screenwriting books because they really break it down very clearly. Also, there is an essay by Mark Twain called "The Literary Offenses of Fenimore Cooper," and it's funny, but it also tells you how to write. And then Kurt Vonnegut Jr. Wrote a two-page article called "How to Write in Style," and it's 2 pages. It tells you more than most people tell you in a whole book. So I just say, just keep learning your craft. Find out, read good books about writing and about structure and so forth. And screenwriting books are the best.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.